Arod is hanging it up. Friday is scheduled to be the final time to see Alex Rodriguez on the field. The Yankees announced that they will release Rodriguez after Friday's game against the Rays at Yankee Stadium. He's expected to become a special advisor and instructor with the Yanks, and we saw a very emotional Arod as he addressed the media at a news conference Sunday.
No athlete ever ends his career or her career the way you want to. We all want to keep playing forever. But it doesn't work that way. Accepting the end gracefully is part of being a professional athlete. Saying goodbye may be the hardest part of the job. But that's what I'm doing today.
Arod ranks near the top in the majority of baseball's most prestigious offensive categories, and he's just 4 home runs short of becoming the 4th man in history to reach 700. Max, should he be in the Hall of Fame?
The answer is yes, and this stuff is not that hard, even in the PED era. Give me a second here, Stephen A., because I want to lay this out. Look, well, if you ever did PEDs, then it disqualifies you. I don't believe that, because what if you did a lot before you were on PEDs, right? Like, because you cheated over here, that disqualifies all the legitimate things you've done? Let's use a couple examples. Barry Bonds. I mean, at a late age in his career, at a late stage, his home run to at-bat ratio suddenly doubled. He looked physically impossibly bigger than he used to be too quickly, right? It's a pretty clear demarcation. But by that time, he'd already been one of the greatest players who ever lived. Barry Bonds, first ballot Hall of Famer, unless you disqualify him on some kind of ethical grounds because eventually he cheated, apparently. Similarly with Pete Rose. Pete Rose should also be in the Hall of Fame, by the way.
Yes, I agree with that.
McGuire and Sosa? Come on, guys. The only reason they're even in that conversation is because of what happened after that period of demarcation, where suddenly there was a sudden and dramatic change in their physical appearance, and that was coupled to an inhumanly, like an impossible increase in their production at an age where that shouldn't have happened. That line of demarcation afterwards is why you'd even consider McGuire or Sosa for the Hall of Fame on the merits. So clearly, they're not Hall of Famers. Now, what about a guy like Arod, where there wasn't ever that single moment where suddenly there was a dramatic change in his appearance and his production suddenly hit heights that it had never known before? What do you do with a guy like that? Well, I think he deserves the benefit of the doubt in the sense that he was the #1 overall draft pick. He was an absolute star in high school. It's not like this came out of nowhere. There are players, Stephen A., who suddenly show up on the scene at the age of 28, 30 and hit like they've never hit before and like no one's ever anticipated to hit before. That's not Arod. Arod was like, wow, this guy's going to be an all-time great. And it turns out he was. But there are 2 moments in his career where people are very suspicious, obviously with the Yankees, and all that stuff came out. And by the way, he had just hit 57 home runs and hit like 320 after kind of seasons, maybe half that as good as that with the Yankees. And the other time was in Texas, when he hit multiple 50 home run back-to-back seasons, you know, in the heat in Texas, playing 160-plus games at shortstop. That looked very suspicious. I would just say, the rest of, even if you took those seasons out of his career, he's still a first ballot Hall of Famer. And to those who have an ethical problem with him, well, if he's a cheater, he shouldn't be in. I would ask you to consider the reasons why he may have been cheating, because that does color the way I view things. Think about most guys who juice and cheat. They do it for the money. Then they get the contract, they jump off the stuff, and they don't produce. If it's the case that Arod did this in Texas and with the Yankees when he did, well, in that case, Stephen A., it would be an issue of this guy getting a $250 million contract and then a $275 million contract and then feeling such pressure to live up to the contract. Remember, this money's guaranteed. The only way he can jeopardize it is by cheating. So he's got the money and then jumps on the stuff because he wants to live up to the contract. I would argue, even if you have the position morally that if anyone ever cheats, you disqualify all the good work they've done, and that's not a position that I hold. But even if you hold that position, I would ask you to consider the motivation for his cheating and see if that changes your mind. But all that said, and putting all that stuff aside, Arod, even if you take out the so-called juiced years, is a first ballot Hall of Famer, however you slice it.
You know, Max, I think that opinion is utterly asinine, ridiculous to the highest order, and I'm going to tell you why. It's not even about the Hall of Fame. You're missing the big point here. Alex Rodriguez, one would argue, could be one of the top 3 players of the last 25 years. One of my boys said behind Ken Griffey Jr. and Barry Bonds. You can look at it that way. You can look at the voters and saying baseball writers of America and, standing, on their sanctimonious horses and being paragons of virtue or whatever the case may be. Alex Rodriguez is not just somebody who cheated. He's not just somebody who cheated twice. He's somebody who also sued baseball, sued his own players association, probably tried to sue the equipment manager and everybody else. It's amazing to me how you can sit up there and gloss over all of that. Now, if you're just making the point that Alex Rodriguez got busted for using PEDs, and that is the reason why you should not absolve him from the Hall of Fame, that shouldn't be the sole reason. That's fair. The problem is that's not all that involves Alex Rodriguez. You have to take everything into consideration. The numerous transgressions, the level of hypocrisy and everything else. This dude was a fake and a phony years ago, proved it again twice, and then finished it off with that bogus press conference yesterday, which the Yankees and Alex Rodriguez should be utterly ashamed for putting in front of our faces. What an embarrassment! An embarrassment that this man showed up yesterday. Before yesterday, I was actually of the mindset, you know what? Mitchell report that came out in 2009 revealed that 103 players in 2003 had used PEDs. I don't see 103 players with 600 home runs. I don't see, half of them closing in on 700 home runs. So I was actually leaning on my boy Jeff, my man Jeff Brown, an ultimate baseball fan, the whole bit, because he holds and maintains that position as well. I actually thought like that. Right up until I saw A-Rod and that press conference. Now, let me try to do an A-Rod imitation. I wish I had a baseball cap. I wish I had a baseball cap right now. Did you notice that he wasn't wearing a Yankee jersey? He had on something for himself, his own brand. Yeah. And then he's reading. Now, mind you, you're saying goodbye. You need a speech. For what? For what? And then not only did he need the speech, Max, then he turns around, right? He takes off. He doesn't cry. He takes off the cap, looks into the camera, and then looks up and, oh my Lord, and forget me. Do you want a role on General Hospital, A-Rod? That's what I want to know. Do you want an role? Because this dude is a hell of a better actor than me. This dude is unbelievable. A phony to the end. Everything about this dude has been fake. Everything. And even when you had the home runs to lean on, he comes up first with Peter Gammons in 2009, and then years later, think about it, I'm going to repeat this, Max. This man sued Major League Baseball. He sued his own players union. He sued everybody. Everybody. And then no case whatsoever. And then you come back and you get suspended for the whole year for 211 games. You missed the 2014 season. And then after that, Max, what happens? His last day in a Yankee uniform. Ain't even his last day. You didn't even have the press conference to say goodbye. You had the press conference to tell us you could say goodbye Friday. I mean, you can't make this up. This dude is just, look, we understand officially why Derek Jeter was never that fond of him. We understand why numerous players, although they're waxing eloquently and very generously about him now, had questions about his authenticity, had questions about his realness. He comes across as too damn fake. That's the problem. You know what I thought about when I saw Alex Rodriguez yesterday? I thought about steroids. I thought about fake. Why? Because Lord have mercy. You can't be real about anything. Please. Just stop it. Stop it, man. Stop it.
This is how a friend of mine described A-Rod several years ago. Mm-hmm. And I think it speaks to what you're talking about. A-Rod is so uncomfortable in his own skin that when you watch him talk, it makes you uncomfortable in yours. Like, you watch A-Rod talking, like, right. So you have his number in terms of the phony stuff, and I think his whole career he's been compared unfavorably in that respect to Derek Jeter, right? Especially when he made the comparison
himself. Why is it unfavorably?
I'm sorry. Unfavorably to Derek Jeter because Jeter's the guy you want.
I got it. I thought
Jeter's the guy you want. And by the way, I'm into sabermetrics and have been since I read Bill James' Historical Baseball Abstract Volume 2, which was a bar mitzvah present when I was 13 years old.
Okay.
So 1986, I guess.
Okay.
Right, I've been into sabermetrics since then. But something the sabermetricians are missing that the old-timey scouts actually have right in this case is you'd rather have Derek Jeter than Alex Rodriguez, and I think you hit on the central issue as to why. A-Rod comes off as phony constantly. I agree with all that, but if that's the case, boy, don't have a press. If you're getting ready to get in the Hall of Fame, listen, kids out there, if you're ever going to get in the Hall of Fame, don't have a press conference beforehand because Stephen A. might vote you out based on the press conference.
Listen.
What does his personality have to do with the production?
I'm going to tell you why. Because his personality and his phoniness reminds you of the cheating, which makes you question the validity and the authenticity of those achievements.
Question it enough to disqualify those achievements?
Yes, to some degree, yes. Because, again, when I look at Barry Bonds and I read the excerpts in Sports Illustrated from The Game of Shadows, not that I didn't read the book because I read the book as well, but if you read that by Mark Fenner-Awada and Lance Williams, and those, if you listen to them talk about Barry Bonds, what did they say? Barry Bonds, who was en route to the Hall of Fame, decided to cheat because he was jealous of Mark McGwire with all the shine that he was getting. And he was saying, wait a minute, I'm better than this guy. This guy is sitting up there, juicing up, hitting home runs, and getting all the love and adulation.
Bonds had been cheated out of his proper position in the game.
That's right. So he had been cheated out of his proper position in the game. That wasn't Alex Rodriguez. Alex Rodriguez was receiving shine from the moment he came into this league. He was recognized for it. He got a $300 million contract from the Texas Rangers, who never won a damn thing with him. Then he goes to the... I understand your point.
He jeopardized the contract to live up to the contract.
But the point that I'm trying to make to you is this. This man gives you reason to pause. When I think about Barry Bonds, I'm sitting there going like this. This dude was 30 and 30. 30 home runs, 30 steals, easily every single year. Gold Glover. This brother was big time. He just elevated and he just buffered himself to elevate his home run stature. In the case of Alex Rodriguez, oh no, you can point to that. I'm saying to you, I can look at Barry Bonds and say, okay, 2003 and beyond, you could make a case. Prior to that, not so much.
Agreed.
With Alex Rodriguez, you don't know when the hell he started, when he stopped. He got caught lying once. He got caught lying twice. He got caught lying a third time when he tried to sue every damn body, and then he culminated all of it with yesterday's press conference. You on your way out of the game, and you have this to remind us of your duplicitous tendencies? How dare this dude? It's just disgusting to watch. I'm a Yankee fan, die hard, and I looked at him. I swear, I wanted to throw something at him. It just makes me sick.
I want to be clear. So do you think he should be a Hall of Famer?
No, I think that his numbers say that he should be a Hall of Famer. I don't believe that because you violated the sport with PED use, that should be the sole barometer to determine that you're not in there. The problem, the difference between Alex Rodriguez and everybody else is that everybody else, him and Roger Clemens, everybody else had the decency to walk away. Alex Rodriguez lied to the bitter end. Roger Clemens was retiring and dared Congress to subpoena him. Now, he should be going. He should be omitted from the Hall of
worse than the crime.
Look, I disagree with Roger Clemens, too. I think Clemens is a borderline case because it's pretty clear the line of demarcation for Clemens where you go, come on, dude, is when he went to Toronto, right? Because he was falling off in Boston.
I got it.
And then in Toronto, he's like Cy Young Triple Crown winner.
That's right.
Right? So it's like, but it's not like Clemens started producing in a way he hadn't already produced at some point in his career.
But I'm talking about the Lion.
Same thing with A-Rod.
I'm talking about the Lion.
Okay, so what you're saying is that what I'm saying is that's different than McGwire, Sosa, and Bonds, who started producing at levels that they had never produced at, even in their physical prime. When you talk about the duplicitous nature of A-Rod, the way that comes out, the kind of phoniness that you just don't like the way it feels watching him, I think it's a good point. It calls into question, just as a human being, if you're watching it, the validity of his entire record. Calls it into question. But I don't think that is weighty enough to assume guilt.
I'm saying it's on a case-by-case basis.
I'm saying in A-Rod's case, it's not weighty enough.
We shouldn't generically decide that somebody who used PEDs automatically is disqualified to be a Hall of Famer. I believe that Barry Bonds should be a Hall of Famer because I believe Barry Bonds was a Hall of Famer before the cheating, before the drugs. Whereas in the case of A-Rod,
you don't know when he
leads you asking, damn, was this dude using steroids in high school? I don't know, because this dude is such an actor, and he seems to just put forth such a strenuous effort in making sure you believe what he wants you to believe, as opposed to being authentic. He comes across as such a phony, you cannot sit up there and say definitively, look, this dude deserves this because I believe this is what he was. You are looking at an Alex Rodriguez that legitimately gives you a reason to question if he wasn't using it in high school. Because that's how fake he is.
Even he does.
It's just disgusting to watch.
Others have brought that up, including a biographer of his who believes that A-Rod was starting in high school, and there is reason to believe and question someone who appears so phony and who's been caught in lies in the past. Sure, I agree with that. Is that weighty enough? Do you feel that? I mean, obviously you do. I don't feel that that holds enough weight to disqualify his otherwise clear first ballot Hall of Fame accomplishment.
I understood your question the first time. You giving it to me the fourth. I still feel the same way.
So it is. So you're saying
nice heated debate on a Monday.
For at least the first ballot, because there's numbers warrant first ballot Hall of Fame. You got
so second ballot's okay?
Well, I'm just saying. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that something.
You got a lot of jerks in the Hall of Fame, like Ty Cobb and stuff.
Don't get me started with that.
A lot of bad people in the Hall of Fame.
Don't get me started with that. I'm saying make sure you bring attention to the phoniness. Alex Rodriguez's nickname should be Fake. Alex Fake Rodriguez. That's what it should be. Alex Fake Rodriguez.
Wait, if we agree not to put him in on the first ballot, on the second ballot, are you good, yes or no?
I would feel better about it.
Okay. You know what? You want me to pass on the first ballot? If I get, this is political bargaining. If I get your vote for the second ballot, I'm good.
And by the way, Alex Rodriguez he hasn't even officially retired. He could actually move on and go on to play somebody else.
Where?
Go play somewhere else.
Not in the major leagues.
I'm just saying, he could.
Better get on some better stuff.
He could. The point is that he didn't even retire. He just said, my career's, finished with the Yankees. He didn't even retire. You don't know what to trust for this dude. You just don't know. You just don't know.
Please.
You just don't know.
So good.
Please, sports and TV gods, let Stephen A. interview Alex Rodriguez.
I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
He wouldn't dare.
No.
He wouldn't dare.
All right, we heard what you guys had to say. We had a split decision here, so we need to take it to the streets. Does A-Rod belong in the Hall of Fame? We want to hear from you. Go on Twitter, vote now. We'll share those results a little later. Speaking of Hall of Famers, Michael Jordan had high praise for Russell Westbrook, but you won't believe who MJ compares Westbrook to. We'll tell you that and react after the break.